we're not only seeing like people come around, but like the news is reporting on it. The DOJ is putting it in their press releases. We've got counterterrorism communities that are picking it up and writing reports. So I wasn't crazy. I was just early. You know, people weren't ready to accept this yet, but I think they are now. They're starting to understand that there's a shadowy hand behind the scene that's, you know, influencing some of these kids.
How do kids even get recruited, or how do children even, or young people, even find these communities? Because it's not intuitive to say, I'm going to find a terrorist cell and I'm going to figure out, like, even if I wanted to, it's not easy to do. I don't even know where to look.
Well, you don't have to know where to. The kids don't have to know where to look because they're preyed on. They're found. So, you know, these guys will actually go to communities where they know there's going to be young and impressionable kids, and they'll pull from there. So we see them on 4chan a lot. The kids got to get on 4chan, or their friend told them about 4chan, and now they're there, right? And that's one place, you know, we've seen them pulling shooters into Discord servers that are maybe more geared towards like guns and gear, and get them into guns and gear. And it's a grooming process, right? It's a very slow radicalization process that doesn't rely on ideology in the same way that, say, ISIS did it, right? So with ISIS, you had what was called like the virtual planner model, where it would be a guy in the Middle East on the internet, and they would be indoctrinating people with ideology. This is why America's bad. This is why you should join the caliphate and take America down. And it's a much faster, quicker, you know, way to radicalize somebody. But with these kids, it's more about getting them to adopt the aesthetics, getting them to adopt the community, getting them to isolate from their family and friends in exchange for this new online group that they have, and really grooming them over time. Another place that they find these kids are on video game platforms like Minecraft and Roblox. They literally make characters that look like Nazis, and they go and they pull kids into Discord servers. So just like your kid could get pulled into, you know, a white van on the side of the road, they could also get pulled into a Discord server by a stranger on the internet, and that person could mean to, you know, exploit them, extort them, or groom them to do something horrible.
How do you even know if your child is starting to get involved in these types of communities? Like,
well,
what are the key signs?
So it depends on the type of community. You know, obviously we could talk about like the 764 network and the signs that they're involved in an even darker kind of network of satanic stuff, right?
I want to get into the satanic stuff too.
We'll get into that. But,
Yes.
you know, on this
don't
line,
want to laugh,
though,
by the way.
you know,
it's crazy.
You know what's, you know, you have to laugh or you'll just cry. Like, it's so bad. But some of the signs I think would just really be, and this isn't just like me thinking this. This is coming from family members of some of the shooters who've spoken out about what happened. Because it's not like you get a lot of shooters that you do get some, but you don't. Like, a lot of them are coming from upper middle class families who are totally normal. And how often do you hear this? Like, we thought he was kind of weird in school, but his family was totally normal, right? They weren't like crazy racists in like the Deep South, like, you know, KKK members. But usually what they say is that he was kind of weird. Maybe he's a little bit neurodivergent already, right? A little bit of an outcast. And, well, he just started going online a lot and shutting himself in his room, and we wouldn't see him as much. And he would just, you know, be online talking to his online friends, you know? And that's, to most people, that sounds like something that's kind of normal for like a teenage boy. So it is hard. It's really hard. I mean, I guess maybe if your kid's stashing weapons under their bed, that's a good sign. But, you know, as far as these guys are really good at teaching these kids how not to get caught, you know. So they're not going to just start talking about racist stuff at the dinner table because they don't want to lose their community. They don't want to get caught by their parents.
Because especially during COVID, I have a lot of friends who have maybe teenage children, teenage daughters, teenage sons. And a lot of them said during COVID, they would just go online. They're in these online communities. They have no idea what they're talking about, no idea who they're talking to. And they can see fundamental shifts in the way they perceive the world, the way that they interact with their community, their friend groups change. And I think 2020, 2021 was a big shift in that because people just completely went in online. And for parents, there's no way to know like what they're talking about. They go, oh, it's just a video game.
Yeah. they're using code words and like, little coded language that we don't understand. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think you really hit the nail on the head with the COVID thing, because when COVID happened, people stopped getting out as much. Kids started isolating in their bedrooms. They started going online, and we saw a really, really big increase in this kind of online radicalization around that time because of that. And people are also depressed. They're feeling lonely. They're looking for solace in an online friends group that they can hang out with. That's a coping mechanism for the world around them. So, yeah, COVID was a really big turning point in how these groups operate, for sure.
In exploring kind of these groups, and you mentioned 764, and there are a lot of these. How many of these groups actually are there, and which are the ones that you feel parents really should be more wary about? Like, which ones do we have to know about? Because there's so many.
There's so many. I would start with the 764 network, right? Because
and how big is that network? Roughly.
And I say 764 network, but really we're looking at a much bigger community. That we say 764 network because it's just an ease of reference thing, but there's actually lots of various little splinter cells, and it's like I said, a leaderless, decentralized kind of network where the people in there can start their own branches and start their own little spinoffs of the cult. But it all kind of ties into this much bigger online community that's known as Comm. And Comm is just basically a cyber criminal network that includes hackers, little script kiddies who want to hack and swat, dox people. In fact, 2 of the people who were responsible for swatting Tim Pool and Marjorie Green were arrested as part of this network recently, like last month. And so this whole Community Comm, I would say anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple thousand, maybe, members over the world.
And what is it that they believe in? What does a community revolve around?
Crime, I guess. It's not an ideologically motivated thing. There's multiple different groups and communities. There's communities, like I said, that just do hacking and cybercrime. And then there's Extortion Comm that focuses on extortion. And I think that's where these really evil roots were able to kind of seep in and take root and form various splinter cells like the 764 network, which is a satanic pedophilia and extortion network where they are exploiting and extorting kids online for child sexual abuse material.
When you say extorting, like, how do you extort children in that manner? What does that even mean? There
was a really good example, not good's a bad word, but, there was a really clear example of this in a recent arrest of a person like related to one of these communities known as Reaper. He had a Discord server called, I think it was Purgatory. I might be wrong, but he had a Discord server. And he would invite kids there and exploit them, right?
And how old or how young are
Reaper
these kids?
was 26, I think, so he's an adult.
Okay.
There was in the criminal complaint against him, there is a whole section that talks about what he did to his victim, who was a young girl, young teenager in her teens. He met her on Instagram. And he started messaging her and flirting with her and, giving her attention, which is what she's there for. She's a teenage girl. And he, at some point, she sent him a nude photo at his request, right? So then what it would look like is, hey, I've got this nude photo of you now. You have to send me more, or I'm going to send it to your entire family, all your friends. Everybody's going to see this nude photo of you if you don't keep sending me more. And so from there, they will continue to groom and exploit those kids for more and more egregious content. In some of these groups, it becomes a competition for who can collect the most trophies, and the trophies being these kids harming themselves on video. And it becomes more geared towards self-harm. For example, carve my name into your thigh, and video record yourself carving my name into your thigh with a razor blade. Then they'll get even more and more extreme over time with the extortion. I think that for this girl, he told her if she didn't kill her family's cat on video, that he was going to come to her house and murder her young siblings in front of her. And so you can see how terrorizing this would be for a teenage kid, right? not only are they threatening to hurt your family, but they're threatening to embarrass you and shame you and, get you in trouble with your community. And so that's how they kind of wield this power. And so the reason that I think this network of predators is more important than a lot of the other ones is because your kid has a risk of becoming a victim or becoming an abuser, right? Because a lot of these, while this guy was older, a lot of the people who are doing the abuse in these rings are younger. They're teenagers themselves doing this to other teenagers. And so it's just a really, really awful kind of thing that's just been metastasizing lately.